Martins Vincent Osei, popularly known as Very Dark Man, has highlighted the plight of young girls trafficked from Nigeria to Ivory Coast in a video posted on Instagram. The activist called on the chairperson of the Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, giving her a one-week ultimatum to repatriate the girls to Nigeria, warning that her failure to act will result in serious problems. He claimed that the trafficked girls in Ivory Coast were in their hundreds and that some were as young as 12 years old. Let's take a look.
So Abike Dabiri, the chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora, after this post, I am giving you exactly 1 week to find solution to this. Exactly 1 week. If after 1 week, these girls are not back to this country, I'll give you the biggest problem you have ever seen in your life. Nigerians, let me show you something. Take a good look.
Well, I don't think any of these girls, I don't think any of them here is up to 15. Let me ask them, they said they are from Nigeria, but some people from Nigeria have come and they found out that they are actually from Cameroon. So it seems like they've taken them to Nigeria before to go and beg. So from Nigeria now, they were moved here. So they think that they are from Nigeria, but they are originally from Cameroon. And when they were moved to go to Nigeria to go and beg. So this is actually Nigerian kids. This is like 0.3% or 2% of the entire problem that is happening here in Cote d'Ivoire, because there is a lot of shanties where a lot of Nigerians are, where they are using them for sex trafficking here in Cote d'Ivoire.
Well, meanwhile, Abike Dabiri Erewa has reacted to VDM's ultimatum, calling it ignorant and misinformed. Let's take Abike Dabiri's tweet. She wrote on X, "Totally wrong, misinformed, and ignorant call. Have you heard of NAPTIP Nigeria? It's the agency responsible solely for trafficking. NIDCOM has collaborated with them as much as we can. And for your information, using my own personal resources, not government, I'm sure NAPTIP Nigeria will treat appropriately. I advise you to tag them." I mean, Vimbai, this is a huge topic. I mean, I know on the cover of Daily Trust newspapers, if we can pull that up, and their lead story on the Daily Trust is traffickers using digital platforms to lure Nigerians. And NAPTIP is saying that over 7,000 victims have been rescued in 2 years. Digital platform. And of course, I reached out to Abike Dabiri Erewa, and she did talk to me about what kind of collaboration that they have been doing with NAPTIP. And she was graceful to send me, some of the roles of NAPTIP. I'll just read a few of them, and then I'll come to you. And, powers of NAPTIP, I'd like to educate Nigerians. They have the powers, 1, to investigate whether any person, body, or entity has committed an offense under this act, or the offense of trafficking under any law. 2, enter into any premises, property, or conveyance for the purpose of conducting searches in furtherance of its functions under this act or under any other law. 3, arrest, detain, and prosecute offenders under this act or any other law on trafficking in persons in Nigeria. I mean, I would say kudos to NAPTIP, really. 7,000 Nigerians in 2 years. It's a lot. And, kudos to also VDM for going out there and highlighting the plight of these young children who have been trafficked, most of them unknowingly, to Ivory Coast, saying that there are hundreds that are out there. As much as we give kudos to NAPTIP, we urge them to look into the case of those children trafficked to Ivory Coast.
Thank you so much for that. And those are the main points. First of all, I begin with those girls, not just these girls, all victims of trafficking around. Yes, it's a tall order for NAPTIP, but for now we know about this group, so we continue to advocate for NAPTIP in collaboration with NIDCOM to do something about this. That's number 1. Number 2, when it comes to Very Dark Man, I think it's important for us to always encourage activism,
yes,
and for us to, to commend it. However, it's also important for us to set out the structures in the manner in which we do so. I know he has his own way of communicating and getting his message across to his followers and so forth, but it's important to note that we can't threaten people on social media. That is not correct.
Yes.
Now to the main issue. NIDCOM itself, under Madam Abike Dabiri, last year, remember there was the issue of the Nigerian girls in Ghana. Yes. 13 of them. And she personally went to Ghana to visit these girls who had been promised jobs as sales girls in Ghana. And in collaboration with other stakeholders, were able to bring them in. From just the end, in the second half of last year, they were able to repatriate about 163 girls, young ladies who had been trafficked to various parts of the world. That's NIDCOM's own collaboration. So that's, separate to what NAPTIP is doing. So I understand, NIDCOM is more visible. So I understand the call to NIDCOM. She is doing her part in her capacity. It's not actually her ministry. That's not the work of the Diaspora Commission. NAPTIP is a national agency for the prohibition of trafficking in persons. That's why we're appealing for them to now get their attention to this particular issue concerning these young girls so they can work in a way that they have done so many times in the past to bring them back. Now, digital platforms, you now have what's happening in the region. You have Togo, you have Ghana, you have Cote d'Ivoire. Further off, you have Saudi Arabia, you have Qatar, you have so many countries where jobs are advertised, sales girl, nanny, domestic staff, and so forth. And so many young girls get stuck out there. Those who come back with their lives are fortunate because many get there and they find that it's not real work, that they're enslaved, that they're abused, that the stories are harrowing, not just from Nigeria, from across Africa. So I'm really glad that we're talking about this, that this conversation conversation has now come to the front burner. And as much as it is not the onus is not on NIDCOM to focus on this issue, we thank them for the collaboration in the past, and we hope that they can continue the collaborative work with all of the stakeholders involved. Because with that Ghana issue, there was Nigerians in Ghana Diaspora Association, just volunteers who came together. So this is a community effort. So let's all come together in a positive light. I don't think there's a necessity for us to abuse each other and threaten each other. This is a collaborative agenda that has to come together. So very important to just highlight that.
Well, Rufai, I'd like for you to speak to the Daily Trust newspaper, trafficking using digital platforms. I mean, it's become a nightmare at this point. I know that you're really, good with these platforms and digital age now. Talk to us about how this sort of incident can be prevented.
The truth is, it's a big recruitment ground for all these traffickers. A lot of Facebook, TikTok, not too really much on Twitter as much as Facebook and TikTok particularly. Instagram. This platform easily can be used, and that's why you should be careful. Because what they prey on is the poverty in the land and your own greed. Yeah. And that's why this morning when we're talking about the economic numbers, things are not well in Nigeria. That's why it's so easy. If you hear what they promise these people, Audrey, you'll be shocked. Paltry amount of money. I do a lot in the charity speech. I interface with a lot of poor people. I mean, I see an outreach in the village over the weekend. So I know what a couple of thousands can do. I know how people will take on anything. And that's why please would like to call on the authority to do the needful to educate them. And that's why we'd like to ask NAPTIP. Where is the 85 million naira you put in the budget, your budget this year for publicity? Probably we can start by using that money to do, even if possible, social media campaigns, if the money is being approved. Because I've also talked to people in NAPTIP. What they complain about is that it's not that they don't want to do these things, but the budget is never enough.
Yes.
In fact, somebody was telling me how the wife of, maybe it's President Tinubu, had to provide a bus for an organization that helped repatriate these young people. I feel very that man's plight. But when you go to the nitty-gritty of these agencies, it's not that easy. What they propose in the budget is not what they get in the end. Especially for the fact that our budget has been greatly hampered by this Trump tariff situation. So most people will not get everything to get by. And Abike Dabiri was right. It's really supposed to be the role of NAPTIP. But how well has NAPTIP been funded? How well have we done the education? But Audrey, the most important part of all of this is economic empowerment. Just some minutes ago, I was talking to somebody and I said, what does poverty mean? Passing over opportunity regularly. If people have things doing, they will not be trafficked for paltry amounts. In many years ago, when Nigeria was a lot better, you had a reduction in this story. It's when Nigeria started to go bad, you started hearing trafficking of people to Italy and all of that. The height of it was when they did that movie, Glamour Girls, in the 90s. That was when, it was really out there and the scourge was out there. So we should do everything to ensure that the economy works. If the economy works, we'll have less of all of this.
All right, we have put the searchlight on it. I have a good point. Okay,
first, to commend Abike Dabiri at Irewa. She has been doing an excellent job running the Diaspora Commission. Since she took over that agency, she has been very proactive. She's been very excellent in terms of meeting the objectives, the mandate of that particular agency. Two, the point has been well made that there's a body called NAPTIP that is responsible for trafficking in persons, which is an offense under the laws of Nigeria. And those laws need to be enforced. Now, let's go to the third point. I'm trying to be very brief about a very dark man, Martin Ose. I appreciate his enthusiasm, almost like a portable, getting overexcited over many things. That's Abibu Okikiola, who now says he wants to fight Anthony Joshua and all that, and he's looking for an opportunity to get into the ring. Look, some of these people who have space on social media, they get over enthusiastic and they abuse the platform. I think that Martin Ose, saying that he was giving Abike Dabiri 1 week ultimatum. Abike Dabiri, I'm warning you, 1 week. Otherwise, I will create serious problems for NIDCOM. Look, that's beyond the pale of decorum. He can make his point. He has done very well to draw attention to the issue, but he has no right to threaten a state official. Okay? So I think that was a bit overboard. And all these people who say they are on Instagram, they are on this and that. Yes, media has become very democratic. But there's also too many quacks and ignorant people, using that space and going, beyond their boundaries. I think it's a statement about Abike Dabiri and NIDCOM. It's unfair. And we need to underscore that.
All right.
He can do his activism, but you should do so with some level, of education.
All right.
Not ignorance.
Well, we have turned the searchlight now on our girls in Ivory Coast, and we urge NAPTIP and, of course, NIDCOM to do their best to bring our girls back home.